All right, Matthew Scharff, welcome to the channel, buddy. First time on. I mean, you were on for like maybe 3 seconds at the Giga Championship, but first time sitting down and chatting to you. I'm honored, man. This is very fun for me. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a long time coming, I feel like. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, man, you've come off the holidays, I assume, kind of just getting back into the swing of things. You guys had a crazy year. Let's start there. How's the decompression over the last couple of weeks? I hope you've had some time off.
Yeah, it's been like you said, pretty busy. Uh but yeah, usually around the holidays we usually have like a little buffer of time, kind of go see some family and stuff. But we had a little bit over Thanksgiving as well. I was able to go to Ohio and see some family and stuff. So overall it's been pretty solid holidays, but that's usually the time when we have the most time to be able to kind of go out and kind of relax a little bit. But I mean, we've got some stuff coming up already pretty soon, early January. So it's going to start being a grind here pretty soon again.
Yeah. That's the way it's going. But we'll work up to that. I want to start taking it back just a little bit. I'd love to hear a little backstory. There's a couple of things with you I'm interested in chatting about, just a little bit outside of just the YouTube golf world specifically. So if you don't mind, let's just do like a quick like how you got into golf, your sports background. Because after, like I just said before we started recording, watching you hit those threes, I feel like you've played a bunch of sports as a kid. So I'd love to hear a little bit just about that background.
Yeah. Well, I attended high school back in Kansas, in a little town called Tonganoxie, Kansas, and I did 4 years of, I don't know, I feel like just about everything. I played football in eighth grade. I was a quarterback in eighth grade for a little bit. Played a little safety, and I don't know, just did some fun stuff in football. It was pretty awesome. Um, Ninth grade, once I started hitting high school, I realized that I didn't really want to pursue football anymore. I was still thinking about being a quarterback, but uh, I figured I kind of want to try everything first. So then I did some basketball, played a little basketball in high school. Um, I was a shooting guard, so obviously you saw, like you said on Instagram, I was shooting a little bit. So did a lot of shooting. And then a little bit after my freshman year was going through, I wanted to try to pursue golf. And I'd been playing golf for a while. Before high school, I'd play with my dad a lot out in Indiana when we lived there, and we went out on the golf course all the time and played. And that was like when I was like around 10 years old, when I was playing a lot. Um, and I don't know if I think he tried to push me into it a little bit to try, at least go play it and see if I like it or whatever. I tried it, played it, realized that I loved it. And that was kind of like my sport in high school. That was once I realized that I really loved golf. I didn't like do like basketball as well, and then football in a different season, and this and that. I was just like, I loved golf, practice golf, focused on that. And then sophomore year started to come around, and I started to really get into it. And I started doing some KJGA events, KGGA, and then that's when I met Garrett. We actually played in some tournaments way back in the day, and then junior and senior year still played some golf. And then I got into college. I went to college in Kansas as well, Sterling College, little NAIA school, nothing too fancy, and played a little bit of college golf as well for my freshman and sophomore year. And yeah, it wasn't really. I realized that I wanted to try to do everything. I could do everything. I had the ability to play basketball and football and golf and baseball. I did a little baseball even earlier before eighth grade. And then I did soccer, and I pretty much played every sport. So that's why when people are like, Matt, why are you so good at everything? It's because I've kind of done everything. So I've kind of got that practice and that little click going every now and then when I play that sport. So, um, but yeah, then obviously college happened, and then, I dropped out, met Garrett. We started talking about this YouTube stuff, and then now we're here.
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I find it very interesting because I grew up kind of similar, like multi-sport athlete type background. And, when you get a chance to get touches on a bunch of different things, I've found personally, having started golf much later in life, that it applied really well to golf. And like people are always like, oh, how did you like, get to hit the ball so well after this amount of time? And it's like, I think it's the athletic background lends itself really well to that. Did you pick up golf quicker than you picked up other sports, or was that the hardest learning curve for you still?
Yeah, I think I picked it up pretty quickly. I mean, I played with the plastic clubs back when I was like 6 years old. Um, so I'd kind of picked it up right there. But yeah, it wasn't like a super. It was obviously the most challenging of all the sports I played. Obviously, it was definitely the hardest one for me to get good at. Um, I didn't really have to ever like practice shooting a basketball. Like I wasn't really bad at it. I just kind of grabbed it and just somehow knew what I was doing. I have no idea. Golf was very similar, but once I started like getting it down, I would start seeing that I would have more problems, and I'd be like, "What the heck?" And that's when I got like a swing coach, and then he kind of helped me figure out some things. And um, but I would like pick up on the lessons really quickly. I'd be able to figure out, all right, you got to transition over here and do this, and I was able to do it really quickly. Um, but yeah, it wasn't too terribly difficult. I'd say kind of in the beginning, it just kind of clicked, I guess.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know from your perspective then, because like I've found the more I think over the ball or like think about what I'm trying to do in golf, usually the worse it goes. Like the more I can just like putting, chipping, hitting ball doesn't matter, whatever. If I can just let myself be an athlete and not overthink it and kind of almost
Yeah.
make it a fluid sport, I do better. And so yeah, so I feel like shaking your head. You agree that it's the same kind of situation, right?
1,000%. I mean, golf is oh, it's such a crazy sport that you could practice and practice and feel like you're the best. And then one week you'll go out and you'll feel like you've never played golf before in your life. And it's like, what am I doing wrong? And then there's this whole other side of the mental side of things of golf. And that's like 80% of the sport. You gotta like you gotta figure out your mental game and dial that in and be able to have great course management and figure out where you need to place the ball and be a really good, green reading. That's like a really, really hard thing to do. Um, Putting is obviously, you should spend most of your time on the putting green. That's where golf becomes very difficult. And yeah, it's insane. And like you said, like learning golf later is tough. It's tough because you gotta think like I've been doing it for since I was basically 10. So I've had 10 plus years of work, and I've kind of got it dialed in. I could not play golf for a year and a half, 2 years, and still know what I'm doing. But if you're starting at 20, then you missed, 15 years of potential practice time. So, like you said, starting later, it does make it very tough because you'll realize it's very time consuming. And then by then you probably have a job and you got school or you got things you got to do. So you can't just go out and practice for 8 hours a day. So that also makes it pretty tough.
Yeah, it's definitely the thing I try to remind myself of like, I can hit good shots, but then when the bad shots just come out of nowhere and like it is funny, like I'll go streaky and all of a sudden just like blade a ball and I'm like, well, maybe I can account this to like, yeah, it's been 2 years of practice. Like I need more time to just get reps and there hasn't been the reps. And I feel like that's something as an athlete you can forget because you have the ability to hit these really cool shots and people are like, oh, you've been playing golf forever. Like you're so good. And it's like, no, but like you also have the ability to just miss the ball completely. And like
Yeah.
that's from that lack of practicing. But was it then a career in golf before YouTube became a thing? Like, was that the path and the trajectory? Did you want to stay in that world?
No, not really. I mean, when I was playing golf in high school and college, I realized that I want to maybe try to pursue it. And I think if I stayed in college, I think I would have probably continued golf all the way through college. But I also had a huge passion for acting and theater, and I had done theater ever since sophomore year. And in eighth grade, I did some stuff. I played Bob Cratchit in The Christmas Carol, and I was a part of some musicals and some plays and stuff. So I really started to fall in love with that. And then in high school, I my debate and forensics coach, Mr. Harrell, who was a phenomenal dude. And he introduced me to this thing called forensics, which you'd think is forensic science. But forensics it's like competitive speech. So you go out and you read like poetry or you read prose or you read impromptu or like you're reading stuff out of a book and you're acting essentially. And so he introduced me to that and I realized that I absolutely love that. And that kind of helped me get into my acting a little bit more. And then I started doing some more plays and some more theater work. in high school, and then realized that I wanted to pursue it in college as well. So I got a scholarship for that in college, and then I did forensics and theater in college, and I also did golf. And I was also doing my academics. So I was like overloading myself with stuff to do, and realized that I had to like narrow it down. And eventually I had to quit forensics, and it was just narrowed down to academics, golf, and theater. Um, but yeah, theater's definitely, being an actor has always been like my true passion. I feel like before before golf was a before golf was a thing. But then now I kind of, in a way I do that. I'm kind of acting and golfing at the same time, creating a character on camera and stuff. So it kind of worked out perfectly. But yeah, I'd say that was my only thing kind of holding me back from like really trying to go pro or trying to break into the for me it was web.com tour back then, but breaking into that super competitive type of space, maybe doing some AJGA events. That was probably the only thing holding me back.
That's really neat. It's interesting because I would definitely classify you as like one of the most charismatic YouTube golfers for sure. And like I can feel like I can see that ability in you to like, yeah, like you said, like almost create a bit of a character. And that's a very interesting thing I think for a lot of people to hear because when we, and I'm going to speak for myself, I guess, here, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, but on camera in the YouTube world, you're yourself, but you're a character of yourself. You're the biggest version of yourself. Like every once in a while, I'll see comments on videos where I'm like reacting to something and people are like, dude, you got to chill, like take a breath, whatever. It's like, I kind of giggle because it's like, well, like I'm doing it on purpose, like being like really over the top, emotional or excited or whatever. Like sometimes that plays into the story you're trying to tell. And so it's very interesting to hear you say that. Is that something that like maybe, I don't know, was a learning thing when you started YouTube? You're like, oh, this is like how I turn it on. This is what I do. And then kind of dial it back. Like just talk me through like, I guess starting YouTube and kind of bridging those two worlds together.
Yeah, it was very. I mean, yeah, you pretty much hit it. It's me, but it's like a different version of me, I guess you could say. And I had watched. I mean, a lot of people know this. I've watched a lot of Doctor Disrespect videos, a lot of Doctor Disrespect streams in my day, and I started watching him a long, long time ago. And he was kind of the guy that for me, like, kind of like helped push me to figure that out. And I think after watching him for so long and like watching, 6, 7, 8 hour streams, watching him be this character for that long on camera and doing it live, which is insane. Um, I feel like I was able to kind of learn some of those different sort of things of figuring out the bridge between, okay, here's a version of me, but still me. And I feel like I didn't really have like, and I didn't like practice it. Like there was no, it's not like I did YouTube videos by myself and then, joined later with Garrett and Steve and did stuff. It was just kind of like I started a video with Garrett and I was just this absolute over the top, ridiculous dude. Super crazy backflips, yelling this and all this kind of stuff. So that was like my first video. Like we didn't do like a trial run video. It wasn't like planned or anything. I didn't tell him what I was gonna do. I didn't say, hey, so I'm actually crazy. So good luck. It was just like I just jumped into it and I was just insane. Uh, and then the cameras would turn off and I would still have like that, kind of piped up energy or whatever. But it was a little chill. Like when people, I think back then it was a little different because I had more energy when I met people because it was like the first time that somebody would be like, dude, you're Matt from, I'd be like, how do you know who I am? So like that, there was a little bit of like starstruck, like, holy crap, this is actually happening. Um, and so I was like probably a little bit more over the top when I met people, and maybe some people can vouch for that of the fans that that have met me. So I was a little crazier back then when I met some fans, but I've started to bridge that a little bit closer. Obviously, I had that huge moment of time in my the YouTube career that I've had that I read too many comments. I dove too deep into the pit of despair with YouTube, and I unfortunately I let it affect me a little bit, and it got to me, and I wasn't able to find a way to cope with that. I didn't know how to do it. It was my first time ever like seeing hate and people hating me for the things I'm doing on camera and stuff. So I had no idea what I was doing there. So I let it get to me and I let it affect my personality a little bit. And it was, it was tough. I think back then I didn't do it as much because I didn't know what comments were. I literally didn't know what YouTube was. I was like, I had no idea what's going on. But when I did started to realize it, I was like, dang, people hate me for some reason, and I should probably relax and not do it as much. And um, so that was pretty tough. But still, I've been able to, I feel like, men like find that bridge of, okay, here's this crazy dude, but there's also this dude that is just kind of normal, kind of thing. And that's always been and will always be a tough challenge, but that's part of the job, part of the game.
Very, very interesting. I'd like to unpack that a little bit because there is like lots of interesting things I think in there. So, what are you referring to specifically with the when you started noticing negativity? Was it around like the energy and the charisma you brought into the videos? That's kind of where it was directed at first.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I think I've always just been a high energy person too. Like I wasn't really quiet when I was little, I was always yelling and screaming when I opened Christmas gifts and running around the room and being a crazy man. So my parents can definitely vouch for that one. Sorry, mom and dad. Um, so yeah, I didn't necessarily like have to bring anything to it. Like I didn't have to bring this craziness. It just kind of started to happen naturally. Um, and then yeah, I've just kind of had that pretty much my whole life, I guess.
So when you say the comments were kind of getting to you, what was that the phase? Because I think there was a phase when there were. I feel like there was a shift in comments a little bit to like, oh, Matt's being quiet. Why is Matt being quiet? Was that was in response? Oh, that's so interesting because I don't remember the comments. It might have been before I was really like into the whole scene, but like I remember the Matt quiet comments. I actually referenced them in a video the other day. Um, so that's very fascinating. And that was around that. I think a lot of people maybe thought that was to do with the back stuff, which we'll get to it a little bit, but that's very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. It was definitely a mix of a lot of different things, I'd say for sure. But the main thing is I started to dive into it just a little bit too much, and I just let it get to me, unfortunately.
How old were you when you first started seeing those comments? Do you remember? Or like when you first started to kind of get that information coming in?
Definitely, there were some in the old GM days back when I was like 19, 20. Um, but I'd say probably 21, 22, like the height, 3 years ago when like 3.5 years ago when Giga kind of started is probably when I started to dive into it a little bit too much.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. I asked just because I don't envy people who find success online below the age of 25. I feel like there's a lot to be said about having your brain being fully developed and coming up with, more of a normal existence before having this information overload. And even in your case, it's you're still, you're old enough to drink and serve in the military, so you're not a kid by any means. Now you have people who are 13, 14, 15-year olds, the Charlie D'Amelios of the world, having this like excess coming in at those crazy young ages. Have you found it's a bit easy? I mean, you've gone through and you've probably worked on it, but do you find now being a little older, it's easier to deal with than it was in the past?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say it's a little easier. I still think it's still a challenge, and it will always unfortunately be a challenge when you're having a phenomenal day and you post some stuff and you read that one comment that kind of it ruins your day. Unfortunately, it really does. It can ruin your day. Um, but I think as we'll talk about later, I've allowed my faith to kind of be that band aid that kind of hey, it's okay. We can move forward and find some positive, encouraging things to say to myself, and obviously pray about and kind of move along that way. So that's helped mend that a lot. Whereas when I didn't really have that, it could affect me for days, weeks, months at a time. Which, like you said, there was a huge period of time in Good where I multiple weeks where I like would have a great start to the week, a couple of days, and then all of a sudden the next 4 days of Good filming, next 8 videos, I just wouldn't be talking, and that's like a month, of of filming and stuff. So that was definitely tougher back then, but being a little older has definitely helped for sure.
Did it ever push you to a point of being like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore?
Oh yeah, multiple times, multiple times. I don't know if quit, definitely not quit. It never pushed me to the point where I was like, all right, I'm just done with it. It definitely pushed me to a point where I was like, all right, I need to take a break. I need to do something else. I need to figure something else out. Um, it definitely pushed me to those points. But like, in good, I never, as you guys saw, it's not like I just stopped being in good videos for 3 months or whatever. I just had to take some more breaks and when I needed them and stuff. But yeah, it definitely didn't push me to the point where I was like, all right, I can't film for 4 months. I got to be done. So that's good. But it definitely pushed me to kind of look at maybe my own personal channel and say, all right, I'm grinding 3 videos a week for 4 or 5, 6 consecutive months. And I'm trying to do good as well at the same time. And I'm filming for some, other people and good and all the travel and stuff. And I was just like, all right, I got to take a break for a second for sure.
It's very interesting. Yeah, that's definitely one thing I wanted to ask about and kind of touch on as well is the personal channel. And I think we've seen it, especially as you guys as a group have evolved and your travel has increased and your, opportunities, which I'm sure they're great and you want to be a part of them and all the different cool things you get to do now being a part of like Callaway and getting invited to all these really cool courses like playing Sanders and Pebble and whatever. But like it is all time. And I think, earlier on, you, Bubby, Steve, like the personal channels were definitely posted a lot more than they are now. And would you just attribute that to basically what you said of just like the schedule has just become too much now that you kind of it's more worth it's more what you need to be putting your focus into, I guess, in good.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I mean, once good started taking off, it was very much like I got to figure out how I want to work it. I can still do 3 videos a week on my own and still go ahead and do good. But that was, obviously taking a toll on me and it was taking a toll on Steve and it was taking a toll on Bubby and Garrett, all of us trying to figure that out and trying to do that. And Grant and Micah, when they were there, like we were all trying to do it. Right. And it was tough. It was a really, really hard thing to do. And there was just so much golf content being out, and everybody was getting discouraged when you're looking and you don't see a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10 or something on your YouTube studio, and you're like, oh man, this one's an 8 out of 10, and then you get discouraged, and it kind of ruins your day a little bit. And everybody's going through the same thing, and good's taken off. So now we're traveling every once a week or once every month for a week at a time, week and a half at a time. And, we've got some other small things we got to do here in Texas. And so it was just absolutely insane. And as you can see, like people started to realize, all right, I got to pick and choose. I got to figure out what I want to do. And most of us just said, or all of us were like, all right, let's dial it back on the personal stuff and let's just kind of all try to focus on good. And we all kind of made that decision by ourselves. And like, cause nobody in the group's like, all right, well, you can't post. We've all attributed our beautiful success to everybody can still post and do your stuff on your own personal whenever you want if you have the time. Um, but we all started to realize at the same time, like, all right, we can't do this all. So Steven started to go slower. I started to go slower. Bobby started to go slower. Even Garrett went a little bit slower. Um, and obviously Garrett posts definitely the most out of all of us, but he still even takes time to like slow down every now and then and have some breaks and stuff. So yeah.
I can't imagine like, yeah, because it's like you're getting everything you've ever wanted, but then it's like how it becomes too much almost, like you guys are having all the success, probably more success than you thought you would ever have. And that's great. And you don't not want that. But like, yeah, at the same time, you're like, something has to give. Was there ever any like hesitation in your mind though of going away? Cause like the personal channel, that's yours. Like you own 100% of that and that is never going anywhere. And that is yours. Do you ever feel like you need to keep that thing like alive, like just in case, I guess, or like, going forward, like, was it ever a decision of like, I'm going to put all my efforts into the group and like, I don't know. I'm just curious in like the psychology behind that a bit for you personally of shifting the personal channel to the group, or was it an easy decision for you? You're just all in kind of on the group right away.
It was a very easy decision. I mean, when Good started, when we decided to start to to like make the group. Like it was an easy decision for everybody to say, we're going to go full out on this thing 100%, give all our effort and our time and our video ideas and thinking on this specific thing. And that was a very, very easy decision for everybody. And we all still do it to this day. I think the personal channels are more of, in a weird way, how I'd probably describe it is like doing stuff and filming stuff on my own personal is almost a break from YouTube. And it's like weird to think about because it's like I'm still working, I'm still grinding. I got to go out and film and find a course and find an editor and maybe sometimes edit the video myself and do thumbnails and all the stuff and find people to film. And it's just the whole thing that comes with it, traveling sometimes. So that is almost like when I get to do that, it's like a creative break from good. Um, in a weird way, working is a break from me working. And that is like the weirdest concept that I've ever had to like try to figure out. Um, Obviously the saying is work hard, play hard, but mine is work hard, work even harder. And when I'm working super hard, when I just take a break and work, I'm actually taking a break in a weird kind of way. So, because like our brains, like, and our bodies always have to constantly be moving. Especially me, I can't be stagnant. I can't be just in one place sitting for a little bit, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. I can't just be doing that. I've always got to be like moving and doing something. And the same goes for the YouTube. It's like if I'm not doing something, like I think the longest that I went was like 55 or 60 days without posting on my YouTube. And that's obviously like the height of when me and Maddie got engaged and we got married. And then, we had all that stuff go down. And so like there was like a big period of time where I didn't post for pretty much 2 months, 2.5 months. And that was the longest that I think I'd ever gone. And like eventually like I'll get to the point where I'm like, all right, I gotta go do something. Sometimes I'll just talk to Maddie, like, hey Maddie, I gotta go film something. I gotta go film a video. I gotta do something. And she gets it. And a lot of the guys are the same way. Like you'll just see us not posting for 12, 13, 14, 15 days. And then all of a sudden you'll just see a banger video come out. It's just like, because our minds are always constantly thinking of stuff. Number one, we're always thinking of great video ideas. Sometimes it'll just pop in your head at, 11:40 at night and you got to write it down, find a golf course the next day and go film it. That's what happened with the 2v1, me and Brad. One day he just texted me and he was like, hey, you want to go film? I was like, boom, done. Next day we got to the course and filmed. So it's like, you always find those small moments to work, but it's a great time for all of us and our creativity to kind of like work ourselves and be dialed back a little bit. And somehow that's a break.
No, dude, you're saying a lot that I understand very fully. And I want to make sure the audience understands too that like, yeah, everything you're saying is like that. It's very correct. Like as a creative, it's like especially if you are able to create within your passion, in which case for us, it's golf, like even still creating within that, but for you separating it from the group to your own, it's just different. Like it's a different mindset, it's different, whatever. And that's refreshing. And it is like a recharge to the brain. And it's very interesting, but no, I think it's also an interesting conversation too, when you talked about how competitive and how many people were posting YouTube golf videos. And you said you started to notice them go from 1 and 2 attempts down, because I've referenced it before in the past where it's like, I feel like you guys, when Good was really first starting to take off and the space was smaller, like all you had to do was post like a 1v1 match against anyone in the group. And it was like, boom, 200,000 views. Like no, you didn't need a title. You didn't need a thumbnail. It didn't matter. Like that was the case I've talked about it specifically with like Micah's channel in the past and stuff like that. I've talked about it with him before. Like it's just not the case anymore. Like you need like an original idea. You need either a really cool idea or a really big collaboration, and the title thumbnail needs to be dialed, because like every single day from the five biggest channels in the space, there's 4 hours of footage being posted to YouTube every single day between like you guys, Rick, Bob Does Sports, Grant, Mike, like everyone. Like there's so much content for people to consume. And so to stand out from that, it's like, it's different than it used to be. I'd love to hear kind of like, what has that been like watching the space evolve?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously been, phenomenal that there's so many people that have been able to do it. And I would never would have thought that being a golf YouTuber is something that a lot of people would start to do, and that would be a space where a lot of people would start opening up and start being a part of it. But there's been so many different people that have decided to take the journey and start posting more and get more creative with video ideas and stuff. And it's been really, really fun to watch. It really has. And obviously for me, the more the more people that post, it hurts my business, unfortunately. When you truly sit down and think about it logically, it does. The more and more people that post, the more views that are taken away from, my personal channel and good and stuff like that. So like if you want to think about it that way, it's like, ah, dang, that stinks. But in reality, it's just like it's an amazing, beautiful thing. Like all these people posting, like there's just more content for the fans to see. There's more opportunities now for different people to collab and different people to do things together. And like I think that's better than just having one big giant powerhouse where everybody just goes and funnels in and watches. It's like now you have so many different people that are doing different things and filming with different people, and the fans get to cling on to different personalities now instead of just all the good guys. There's like, Mike and Grant, and then there's also the people that they film with. They get to cling on to their personalities, and then when let's say those people start getting big and then they decide to branch off and go do their own thing, now there's another two personalities that people can start clinging on to. And then everybody else that's doing their own solo stuff, they bring on people to the channel, and then they get a so it's like this big giant cloud that just continues to get bigger and bigger, and more people now can start to figure out, the fans can start to figure out, man, I really like this dude over here. I really like what he's got going on. It really, really hits me different. I love his story. His story matches me exactly, and all the things that I've gone through. And so I'm going to go follow his journey and be a part of that. So, I could sit here and cry and complain that everybody's taking my views and they're taking all my money and they're doing this. But it's like at the end of the day, I love it. I love seeing all these new creators that are bold enough to step out and try and be a part of this YouTube thing, because it's hard. You got all these top creators that are like the big dogs, and you're like, man, well, I'm never going to compete with them, so I'm just never going to do it, and they get discouraged. And it's just like when people want to go play golf and they go to the range and they see like 4 or 5, 6 different people that are hitting the ball just right down the middle every time and it's perfect, and you step up and this is your 5th time hitting a club, you're like, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't want to hit next to these guys. I look stupid compared to these guys. And then I've seen people literally leave the range. And that breaks my heart sometimes when I see that sort of stuff, because I was the same dude. I walked up to the range and I'd top it and I'd shank it. And I freaking still do it today. Go watch the last video. I'm sure I did it. So like it's a tough thing for me to see sometimes. But I hope that the people that are listening, the people that are watching, that are kind of been on the fence about, how to start and if they should start. And there's too many people now, and Good's too big, and, Garrett's too big. And some of these guys are just too big and I can't do it. I can't compete. You're not competing against us. You're only competing against yourself. That's the only person that you're competing against. If you can't pass your own barrier, if you can't defeat yourself and be able to tell yourself that, hey, you're going to do this and you're going to be successful, then you're never going to be successful. And that's what all of us had to do. We all had to do the same thing. We all had to beat that barrier in order to get to the point where we're at right now. And once you beat that, you start seeing like all the amazing growth on, not only YouTube, but like the golf space. Like it's just absolutely blown up in the last 3 years. Golf, for some reason, COVID hit and golf became like the sport, the game, the thing that everybody would go do with their friends. So I don't think about it as much as like, man, I'm not becoming successful anymore. It's like, well, I'm making golf successful. And that's truly the goal in our jobs.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, I could go on that specific topic for hours. That's just my shtick. So I'm going to pull my reins in a little bit here so I don't bore the audience too much. But I love everything you said. And I think it's very interesting. I think it's just different now, right? Like, I think there's more competition, absolutely. But I think it is a rising tide raises all ships mentality, where it's like a lot of the opportunity, like if you guys were still the only YouTube golf group, you probably wouldn't have a Callaway deal. Like if there was nobody else doing it, YouTube golf would be too small. Like now there's like all these other channels which are pulling, like there are people who watch Bob Does Sports because they go out and they shoot 100 never better and they drink their faces off and swear on the golf course. They're probably not watching a lot of good videos because it's just not relatable to them. Like you guys at your worst are still breaking 90. Like it's not like, anyone in the group's really like that bad. And so like, there's just, I think it's about finding something unique, and you have to have an individual value prop that separates you. And if you're just trying to be the next good, if you're just trying to be the next Garrett or trying to be the next Bob This Sports, it's not probably not going to work for you. But if you can find a way, which there always is, to come up with something that offers something unique, you can definitely bite into that audience share. But I do think it is cool to see that. And I think you guys probably internally have felt the competition aspect a little more, like, all right, like, let's go. We're going to work harder. We're going to get our ideas better. We're going to grind more. And I mean, you guys are the pinnacle of production value and of, quality content and coming up with these original ideas. What does the behind the scenes look like for you guys when it comes to like ideation and then all the way through to the execution of the finished product?
Yeah, it's been, I mean, I don't know, it's a crazy, crazy process. Obviously Max and Colin are like they're the engine behind it, really. They get to see the most content. They're editing all of it and they also film it. So like they get to see the most, so they kind of know what's best. They come up with a lot of the ideas. They got big whiteboards in the office with a bunch of different ideas and things that we got coming up. So like they're kind of the powerhouse behind all of that. And obviously, like every now and then we'll get together as a group on Good Weeks usually, and we'll kind of like sit down and brainstorm some video ideas, just kind of bouncing off of each other and just like trying to plan out what we want to do for the week. And usually sometimes we're very good on the flow, on the spot, and we'll come up with ideas pretty much sometimes like 15 minutes before our tea time. And that can be crazy and very nervous sometimes when we get asked to come out to golf courses and they're like, all right, we're ready to hear what you got. And we're like, we're not going to have it till tomorrow. Sorry. So that can be kind of tough sometimes. And usually it works out almost to perfection. And all the guys every now and then they'll all have their own ideas and they'll all kind of pitch something and they'll be like, hey, I came up with this like really good idea. We should do this, but then add this to it and then maybe do this and it'll be really good. It's like, oh yeah, let's do it. And then we'll just shoot it. There's a high chance that maybe we don't use it because maybe the video idea sucks. But I think most of the time, 99% of the time, we've been like, this is great. Let's do it. The around the world video that we did, that was a very, very good example. We were just like trying to think of things to do. And I was like, hey, I don't know who did it, but somebody did like this video where you like moving back on tee boxes if you make birdie or something. I'm not quite sure. It might have been Brian Bros or Mike or Grant, somebody. And you make a birdie and you move back a tee box and you just keep going until you get to the back. And I was like, well, what if we did the same thing, but you start on the front tee boxes with wedges only, and you got to try to make a birdie with wedges only from there. And then once you make birdie, you move back and you unlock a new set of clubs. And then you move back again, you unlock the next set and you keep going all the way back. And so like sometimes, we'll play off the ideas that some other people have had. And then that ties back to the other point that you said of like how amazing it is that all these other people are posting and wanting to get into YouTube golf. Like we can all like collaborate together as one big mind and be like, oh, that's a great idea, but I'm going to do this instead and make it a little different. I'm going to copy you a little bit, but I'm not going to take all your answers, So like you switch it around and kind of make it your own thing. And I think everybody's doing that. There's only so many video ideas that you can come up with. And eventually like stuff's going to get reused, like 3v3s and 2v2s and 4v4s. Like that stuff's always going to happen, and we're not like the sole creators of that. It's not like, all right, well, Good comes up with all the ideas and everybody steals it from us. And you're just not good because we did it. No, everybody's coming up with different kinds of ideas and you're kind of picking and choosing from some other people's ideas that they come up with. And you kind of make it your own thing. And then you just kind of move on, and everybody's doing that. And that's what's so amazing about the space is because you'll see a video that you did, but somebody did it different. You're like, dang, that's good. I love that. But what if we did this to make it even better? And so you're like, you got one idea that turns into 10 different ideas for 10 different videos. And that's what I absolutely love behind it. So we're constantly always doing that when we're behind the scenes thinking and talking. We're like, what can we do with this idea that's good to make it a little different, that it can pertain to our channel and our viewers and the people, what would they like to see? People aren't going to want to watch us eat, 50 donuts and drink 30 different things. They ain't going to want to watch that because nobody's going to be able to do it except for Steve. He might be able to down a couple, but like they don't want to see that stuff. They go to BDS to see that. You know what I'm saying? So like they have their thing. We have our thing. Sometimes we'll take some of the things that they have, but make it our thing, because our channel's a little different. And we just kind of mesh that way with all the different creators. But behind the scenes is for them. It's just the editors is just different than what we have to do, right? They have to film the content, edit the content, so they're just going 24/7. A lot of the other guys, they're obviously going doing their own personal stuff. And then we'll have meetings here and we'll talk and stuff and plan out the next couple of trips or whatever and write it down in the calendar and just kind of it's definitely more organized now than it was before. But yeah.
Love that. How do you guys avoid, as a group of, 4 to 6 to however many, I guess with the editors, 8 creatives, avoid like a too many cooks in the kitchen type thing, and like maybe people feeling like their ideas aren't being used as much or whatever? Like, how do you guys work around that, being 3 years into it now?
Yeah. I guess like I kind of said, that just goes back to like Colin and Max kind of being the guys, you know what I'm saying? They they kind of head most of the stuff, and all of us just we love it and we let them take creative reins over that. Usually when we come up with ideas, we'll usually come up with ideas at the golf course, like before the tee times and stuff. If they like kind of have a plan of what they want to do, we'll be like, well, what if we did this? And we'll usually be like, all right, yeah, let's do that, and then let's film this after. But we're usually typically getting 2-3 videos a day. So it's not like we show up to the golf course and be like, all right, we got one video and we're done. We're filming 2-3 videos a day, sun up, sun down. I think our record is 7 or 8 videos in one day. And we went from like 9 in the morning until like 10 p.m. at night. And we filmed like some mini golf stuff. So like there's days like, multiple people came up with multiple different videos for that whole entire day. But typically like if we're going to Chicago and Bubby kind of plans a Chicago trip because he's from there, Bubby will kind of like set up most of the stuff and he'll come up with some good video ideas, and he'll have like 6 people that want to play with us, like the maybe the staff of a golf course and some of the training pros and stuff. So he'll kind of have that video set, and we'll, all right, at Thursday at 10 p.m. or 10 a.m., boom, we're filming with these guys. So typically that's what will happen there. Like some people will set up a trip and specifically design it and cater it to what's going to happen. And none of us are like, well, I don't want to do that. So that usually happens, but yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I just say like, there's just every now and then there's just like a couple of people that just kind of like take over and, kind of come up with some good stuff. But all of us are constantly thinking, like every now and then somebody will send a text and be like, hey, this is a great idea. We should film this. And we'll write it down, jot it down, and we'll film it next. So those things are always constantly happening. But yeah, it just kind of depends on who sets the trips up. And when we do get a trip set up, we all get in a group text and we all talk and chat about what we want to film.
Very neat. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's very, very interesting. I think I want to pivot a little bit now to something else that I think is integral to your story, especially on YouTube Golf. And I know you've told it on your personal channel, but I'd like to, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about the back injuries and the history of that and kind of that whole, for anyone who hasn't heard it, what happened in terms of the injury, and then what led to the actual procedure and taking that step and getting it done.
Yeah, oh, the old back. Yeah, it's kind of been a problem ever since my, I think, junior or senior year of high school when I heard it weightlifting. I went to the chiropractor and a couple of vertebrae were out of line, so we kind of popped it back in and I iced it and stuff and just kind of like moved on. But I didn't think it was a big deal. But that was kind of like the start of the unfortunate back issue. And it just progressively, like I'd start to lift a lot. I lifted a lot in college, and I'd go a lot, through like gaining a lot of weight and then cutting and gaining a lot of weight and all that kind of stuff. And I was doing a lot of acrobatic flips and stuff on the theater stage and a lot of flips outside of that, and then doing a lot of golf. And so I was just doing like all this stuff and just putting, a lot of stress and stuff on it. And eventually, then good happened, and I'm golfing so much and putting a lot of torque and stress on my back. And then eventually, like one day at my house, I was just like walking and just like stepped down like on our floor a little bit, and my back just kind of like gave out, and it got like super super tight, and I couldn't move it at all. I was just like a cardboard box, just standing up straight. I was leaned over a chair, and I was like trying to like stand up, but I couldn't stand up, and I was like, oh, I'll just try and sit. Couldn't sit. Um, So it was very, very scary because I was like, dang, I think I thought I was done, thought I was going to be like the end of my golf career and thought I was never going to be able to golf again. And ER had to, the hospital had to, the ambulance had to come pick me up because I couldn't even make it to the car. And eventually got there and, they gave me some stuff and were able to send me home later that night and iced it and figured it out. And then that's when like I was talking with Maddie and we were like, man, I got to figure this out. Don't know what to do. And obviously recently I got a chiropractor and he's been helping me a lot, giving me a lot of different stretches. And now I'll be stretching on the golf course all the time. And so now I got this whole thing of like what my chiropractor tells me to do. And before that, I had my back doctor who would give me some. I did a bunch of facet injections. I had an epidural one time because the pain was so bad, and then eventually got to the point where I was like, all right, I don't. What's the next steps for me? I was telling the doc, and he was like, well, there's surgery, and there's just we could just keep doing what we're doing, and maybe something happens. And I was like, all right. So then we looked into the surgery thing, and there was this procedure called an RFA, a radio frequency ablation, where they go in and they just burn the nerves. And it's a small surgery. Like they take a little, they cut like a little slit in the back because the needles are much bigger, so they can get those in. And I went under the anesthesia for like 30. I was under for like maybe 30 minutes or so, and came back out. And the RFAs, some RFAs can last 6 months. They can last a year. They can last 2 years. So that's like all dependent on the person and what kind of activities you're doing and stuff. But I got it, and 3 months later, I felt great. Back felt phenomenal, and I was like on this high for a little bit. And I was like, all right, well, obviously getting appointments and stuff with the back doctor. And he's like, all right, you still got to be careful. You can't just do whatever you want. Um, and so that's when I was like, all right, got to figure that out. And then obviously, like, I got to go through a swing change. So then I was obviously with Grant when he was still part of Good Good. He helped me get a swing change going, and you can go see that video. He helped me figure that out. So then I had to go through a whole thing, and then I had to practice a bunch, but I had to be careful because I couldn't over practice and like I'm freaking myself out. Um, but I took all the proper steps, and now my swing obviously looks a lot different. I want to be swinging it a different way, but I can't, which makes it tough. But it seems to be working out pretty well. And then I got my chiropractor, and he's been helping me out a ton. And now we're kind of here, like now I'm at a really, really solid point where I'm able to go play when I need to and, not overdo it, which is tough because I want to overdo it because I freaking love the game of golf. I want to play every day. I want to play with everybody, every person when they ask me. But I also have to know my limitations on when I can't play. But yeah, that was a crazy, year and a half or whatever that, however long that lasted. But right now it's been pretty solid. I've been able to play and haven't had any, terrible things happen so far. So we're gonna keep riding that wave, and hopefully the chiropractor can keep helping me, and I can keep stretching. I need to keep stretching, and it's pretty much all on me. Like unfortunately, like it's all the things that I need to be doing. All this travel that I'm doing is tough, but I got to get up and move every hour. If it's a 3 hour flight, I got to be moving 3 times on the plane at least, walking up and down, go to the restroom, stretch, try to stretch a little bit. Those are pretty annoying because then people look at you and say, "What are you doing?" And it can be a little weird, but I'll be stretching on the floor and people will be like, "Oh, is this guy supposed to be here?" So like those things are weird, but you gotta do it. Um, but yeah, it's been really solid so far.
Is that the back stuff? Did that align up? Because you had mentioned, I want to give you an opportunity to speak on it as much as you'd like. The kind of entrance of the faith journey a little bit around the negative comments, and I think the timing somewhat coincided with the back, if I'm not mistaken, like or at least around a similar window. So I'd love to hear a little bit whatever you'd want to share about kind of how that's come to be and has helped you kind of through both the negative comments and the back.
There was a time when Good Good was like super crazy when we went to Dubai and we'd gone to the UK and we had kind of traveled to a bunch of these different places. And um, I'd gone through some crazy things. I'd lost my wallet in Europe, and I'd brought my good book that I'm writing, and I'd lost that, and I was like losing things, and my golf game was literally the worst it's ever been. And Maddie had gone for like 3 weeks to go do a movie, and I was just like alone at the house, and it was just like bad. I had that crazy live stream where I'm sure a lot of people remember when I was drinking a lot. I was freaking drinking on stream like a literal fool. Um, and I was like killing my body for some reason. And I had no idea what was going on. And eventually I got to the point where I was like, all right, there's something that I'm doing that's wrong. And I need to figure that out. Because it seemed like everything in my life was just terrible. And then I eventually got to the point where I was like, all right, I can fix this. I can do it. And I realized I couldn't. I kept failing. I kept figuring out, why do I keep failing? And then that's when I realized that I needed something else. There was something that I was clearly missing. And then on the week of the Good Cup, when we were in Branson, that's when I fully 100% committed and devoted my life to Christ and said that my life is yours, and I need some help. And I was finally able to humble myself and got some help. And ever since then, he's kind of turned my life around. And I've been extremely grateful, obviously, for that. And I've been able to see things in a better light now. Obviously, I still read the comments, still saw all the hate. The hate didn't go away. Everything wasn't just peachy perfect after that. My golf game didn't just get better. um, so things were still tough, but I was able to look at things a little bit differently. And that was probably the biggest thing that was able to help me help me turn that switch a little bit. Just seeing things in a different way instead of seeing something and letting it ruin my life. And I started reading the comments, and they all of a sudden just they didn't really affect me anymore. And that to me was huge, that I've been doing it for 4 years and it was affecting me every single time. Um, and then I started to practice a little bit more, and my golf game got a little better. And then my relationship with my wife got much better. And then we finally got engaged, and then started to become great friends with Grant, who was like a big person, big X factor in my life that helped push me towards my faith. Micah was that guy as well when he was in good. So like I had these guys that were helping me in my faith. And then eventually, like I just became 100% fully committed and devoted. And obviously, you guys have seen, I talk about it on my channel all the time. I'm doing some sermons every now and on my little Snapchat or my Instagram or whatever. And it's been phenomenal. And I attribute all my success, all my healing, all my good looks. I mean, come on. All my amazing things that have happened in my life to him. And that's just how it's always going to be from now on. And now I feel like I can do anything. I can conquer anything. The back thing isn't necessarily just going to go away, and it's just going to heal, and I'm going to be perfect. But if something does happen, I have a different perspective, a different way to look at that now. Same thing with the hate comments and people saying negative and nasty things, to my face. They do it. Sometimes it happens. They'll say some stuff that's not very nice, but there's like a way to deal with that now. And then obviously I made another hole in one, which that that's all him. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, a lot of people saw my hat said Romans 8:31, and that verse. For some reason, I wanted to wear my other hat, the John 3:16, and I'd been wearing that one all the time. But for some reason, it's the exact same hat you're wearing right now, and I wrote Romans 8:31 on it, and if God is for us, who can be against us? And that verse it's one of the best verses ever, and I love it. And that was all the proof I pretty much needed right there, you know. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey though. I'll say that.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, it's very. Once again, lot to unpack. We're definitely going to get to the hole in one. I noticed you noticed the hat, you noticed the polo. I got the whole outfit going on right now. That was very intentional. But no, that's great, man. I mean, I think it's good that in a time when you needed it, and it's able to keep you kind of going in the right direction, and being able to be, who you are, and not, there's a lot of people that turn to other things, whether it be, like you said, like alcohol or drugs, not necessarily like hard drugs, but pharmaceutical drugs or whatever it is. And those things are band-aids for sure. And, I think getting your mental right is really what matters. And I think, whatever it is to help you get there, it's good to hear, man. I'm happy you're kind of in a good place with that. But you mentioned Micah and Grant, and that's something that, at least with Micah now, the match you posted about the other day, that's super awesome. You were just at Grant's wedding. Once again, I mean, there's a lot that has happened in that last kind of 2 to 3 years with you. And I think one thing that I didn't quite realize, I guess, is until I spoke to Mike and Grant about it, is your guys' relationship and how close you guys have been. How has that last year been with the personal relationship that you've had with them? And, now you're kind of, again, you're at Grant's wedding, you're playing a match with Micah. That's awesome. But was it weird, or was it like hard for you personally, just given the fact that you do have that relationship?
No, it never really was weird. Yeah, I don't know. It never really got to the point where I feel like I couldn't talk to them or feel like they couldn't talk to me. It never really got there. We'd always exchange pleasantries every now and then, Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday, how you doing? Obviously, we didn't, talk like a whole bunch like we obviously did when we lived freaking 5-10 minutes away. That's just natural. Um, but yeah, like the spark never really left. I feel like, and they both played such a big part of my life, uh, in the faith way, right? Because they were both there. They both helped me through that, and so like that part was never really going to change, even if I wanted it to. If I wanted to just resent them and never talk to them again, like I feel like that was never going to go away because of the things that they did and the way that we all helped each other. Um, but yeah, I never really had a moment where I was like, man, I don't know if I could ever talk to them again. Like, they're moving to Florida now and they're not going to see me anymore. And I'm never going to talk to them. And it was, obviously a point where, all this craziness and all that crazy stuff was happening, and we didn't really talk that much. And then they moved and, started their own thing and started like figuring some stuff out. But, you know, Grant, had his wedding and I was able to make it. And then Micah was there and we just talked and connected and reconnected. And it was like nothing ever changed really, which was, crazy. Um, but obviously, me and Grant got engaged together. So like that, there's always going to be something that there's always going to be something there. That's like such a special moment of my life. And something that I'll literally never forget. So, and he will never forget as well. So there, we just have that special bond. And then me and Micah, we just have this brotherly bond that I don't know how to explain it, but we'll always have it, and we could not talk for years at a time, but still be able to find that, just like how everybody in good, like I can do it with all of them. We don't speak for a little bit, but then we reconnect and it's like nothing ever, it's like we never stop talking really. So, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. You have your friends where you don't talk to them for a while, they move, or, you go to a college here and they go to a college, a completely different place. And, you somehow, oh, I'm in Chicago. Oh, I'm in Chicago too. And then you talk and it's like, dang, I haven't seen you in 4 years, but man, we're talking like nothing ever happened. So like, it's like one of those situations for
I
sure.
think I think it's awesome to hear, and I think it's funny because I think a lot of people would like almost like want you to not like them, in a
Yeah.
weird way. Like, like obviously I'm talking about like the fans and whatever, but like, they hold these grudges, and and I think they maybe expect you to as well. But it is funny. And yeah, like I said, the more I talked to Micah and Grant behind the scenes and heard their story, which was the exact same, it's just like that's so funny. But talk to me about the match with Micah, because you got 50K likes on that thing. That thing's happening. Any little teasers you can give me?
Man, I'll try and I'll keep it as small as I can. I don't know what prompted it. I was just like, man, and everybody, first of all, everybody thinks that the matches have been filmed and they're already done. No,
Yeah. No, I said that in a video the other day. I was like, no way.
nothing has happened. They're like, I don't even know when this is going to be filmed. I got a ton of crap on my plate right now. We've got this whole live event thing going down. Like, it ain't just gonna happen here in the next day or so. Like we gotta relax, all right. Um, but yeah, I guess I truly wanted to post it to see if the fans would even want to see something like that. And then, got 50,000, 52,000 likes in like a day. And I was like, yeah, okay, I guess they want to see it. And the same thing with Grant and Garrett. Like, obviously, they want to see that. Those guys are freaking inseparable at one point. They were freaking crazy fun to watch. Um, but yeah, don't get it mistaken. I'm going out there to crush that little man. Like, I love the dude, but it ain't gonna be this. Oh, I'm gonna be nice to you. No, I'm gonna make sure that guy wants to go home crying. That's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be a highly competitive match. You're gonna get a couple of videographers, hopefully, and make it a very, very intense thing like we did back in Purcell. Like that's what it's gonna be. It ain't no nice stuff. Never, even when he was a part of Good Good, I'm gonna go out and crush that little turd. That's the facts of it, you know?
Oh man, I love that. I think it's going to be something that people are very much going to be excited for and people are very much going to love. And so it's cool to see that coming back together. And I think, speaking of even the live event and all that, like the potential, we don't know who's for sure going or not, but that, is something that I've talked about on the channel a bunch. I think it's time that something like this happens for the creator community on YouTube because, we have so many people that watch what you guys do each and every day and the way you play. And there's definitely the ability to have these sorts of events. And so I think it's really cool that the steps are finally being taken to make it happen. So I'd love to hear from your perspective. What's that like the prep for the live event? And like, that's a huge undertaking for you guys. I haven't really talked to anyone. I've talked to Kendrick about it, but not on record. So I'd love to hear kind of, what's that been like trying to organize that whole thing?
I mean, it's obviously I don't have much control of figuring all the like important details and stuff out. Um, but it's a crazy, it's something that we always talked about ever since we started. Like we want to host live events that people can go to. So that's been incredible, and there's a lot of kinks we have to work out. Obviously, you guys saw that little snippet that we got to do with Brad and Steve on the live, and kind of, or wait, no, we did that for ourselves. Um, we did like a little test, a little live stream test, and it was great. We're working with a lot of different equipment. We got to find the right equipment to be able to do this. Like it's really, really hard to be able to find that sort of stuff. And, we're not the PGA Tour. We don't have access to our own servers and our own equipment, own $1 million equipment to be able to host 4K. Like I just don't want people to get this crazy expectation that it's going to be this crazy perfect thing. Like, just like when we hosted our first ever, tournament where you were at, the Arizona tournament, like there was a lot of kinks that we had to work out, and it was a crazy, crazy event. So I feel like it's going to be very, very similar. But we did like a live stream test, and some of the equipment seemed to be working pretty well, and the audio was pretty good. And um, I think it's going to be a really, really exciting event, and a very good learning curve for all of us to figure out together. And next time we do a big championship like we did in Arizona, it's going to be better. We have all the information. We know how to outsource some of the content and some of the things, and maybe get some more videographers to come help. And like we know what to do and how to do it now. So it's going to be a very, very similar feeling. We're going to have some kinks and some problems, but in the end, it's going to be I think it's going to be phenomenal.
That's awesome. Well, I'm very excited for it for sure. I'm going to be down there with you guys. It's going to be really fun to watch that come to fruition. But one more thing I really wanted to, no way we can leave without talking about it. You mentioned it a little bit, but those hole-in-ones, man, that is one of the craziest things ever. Not just that you did it once, but this year culminating, doing it twice. It's incredible. And, I'm sure you've been asked every question under the sun, but I want to know just from the perspective of this past year and, the fact that you got the second one, and these things, when they happen, they go ultra viral. Like they're way beyond good. They're on Golf Digest. They're on, all these different accounts and whatever. And, we spoke a little bit at the beginning about the negativity and the negative comments and all that kind of stuff. Like I'm sure with all the, wow, that's so amazing. Good job. There also comes a lot of people being like, that was fake, or this, there's no way this happened, or like this guy, no way. Like all those things you see online. just walk me through a little bit of those specific things, but then also just like, what is the like 24, 48 hours like after you post one of those? It's like, I can't imagine what your phone does in that 48 hours.
Yeah, it's it's insane. But yeah, like like you said, it's just like even when I made my par three hole in one, you got to see the ball go in the hole. People are calling it like fake. Like that's just what's gonna happen. And for me, I love it. Keep doing it because it's literally the funniest thing ever. Um, but yeah, it's just one of those things that it's unexplainable. I mean, I was playing great golf that day. I'll say that at Diamante, I was playing phenomenal golf. And the drive before, 350-yard par four, like I think that shot also goes very unnoticed. Like it was a 350-yard carry to get to the green, and I put it to 20 feet. And like I was the only one out of the group that hit the green, you know, and like that shot almost went in, like it literally rolled right past the hole. Like it hit, and Garrett watched it go right by, and they thought it was going in. So like that shot goes very unnoticed in that whole video, and that was one of my greatest. Like up until the par four, that was literally one of my greatest drives I've ever had in my life. Right, the first hole in one, not technically a drive, it was a 3-wood, right? But like that was one of the best struck drivers I've ever hit in my life, right in the center of the club face. And a lot of people know I don't have a huge swing. I'm not John Daly. I ain't got that big rotation in there. Um, but like I just was generating a lot of power. I'd done some good stretching. I don't know what I did, but like I was just feeling it all the way through the swing. My shoulders were coming down, and I was just like blasting balls right in the center of the club face. And then, like my driver, that was the only one I hit. Didn't hit one off the first tee. You guys know me. I try to not hit the drivers at all in scrambles. I don't want to because one, I don't need to. The guys hit it farther than me usually. Um, and then I hit that, and I was like, I got Bubby, and like I got these guys on my team. Like they're nuts. Brad's on my team. Like these guys have hit it way further than me. It's not even close. But they took my ball. I outdrove them by 30 yards. They suck. What are they doing? They got one job: hit the ball far. That's your only job. So they're taking my drive somehow, and then we get to the eighth hole, and a couple people go before me, and they hit it great, but it's downwind 360. You should get there. Nobody's getting there, and then I step up and literally carried it 359, 358, and they just kicked and landed on the green and started rolling to the pin. Obviously, we didn't get to see it go in, but I mean, you got to watch it roll the entire time, and it's just like creeping and creeping. And we're like, all right, it's going to stop. And it just kept going. And there's a little hill, and it dove down, and then the ball was gone. And we're like, yeah, well, I was like, no, it ain't in. And was like, what if it's in? I'm like, I always tell the guys, shut up. It's not in. Relax. This ain't the time, guys. And then, of course, I'm like, oh, I'll pull out my phone and record it. Who knows, huh? Who knows? And Garrett and Steven are doing the cart cam, and I'm filming it, and I'm just like watching them. I'm literally watching people to make sure that they're not pulling some crap on me. I'm being honest. They've done it to me multiple times. I'll get up to the green, and the ball will be 3 feet, 2 feet, and then I'll be like, oh, dude, and then they'll walk back 25 feet and set it where it really is. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like watching them like a hawk. I'm like, you guys don't do nothing. Knock it off. And I follow them, and I see them going, and I see them running. And I was gonna run up to the green, and I'm like, I'm just gonna stay in the cart because it ain't in. And then Garrett's like, it's in the hole. And then, of course, the rest is history after that. And then we still have another hole to film, right? In the all 3 hole in ones, we had more holes to film. We still had to finish the video. And that's weird. That's a weird feeling after literally making history, and nobody knows about it yet but us. Like, and we still have to film. And I still have to win. Okay. Like I'm out here. I just did the greatest thing I'll probably ever do in my life. But then I'm like, we ain't losing this video. If you think I'm posting a video where I make a hole in one on a par four and we lose, you're out of your mind. So I'm out there shaking, but I'm like, all right, Matt, here we go. Here we go. Focus, focus. And I'm like trying to trash talk and get in their heads a little bit and make sure that they suck, because that would be tough. That'd be a tough look for me. So, I focused and made it. We finished hole 9 and we were able to win. But then it like starts to sink a little bit, and I got to call the wife and tell her, hey, so guess what? And then she goes, what? And I gotta tell her I just did the freaking craziest thing of my life. And she's freaking out, and I'm freaking out. And then we called Colin on the next tee box and said, "Hey, Matt just made a hole in one on a par four, 360 yards." And Colin goes, "Shut the ain't no way!" And he's out there screaming and yelling, and we're like, "Yeah, he did it." And we're watching the footage back, and so like we're having this crazy moment of what just happened. Nobody can believe it. Um, and then the day ends, and then I think I just went home and or to our little villas, and I was just like set my clubs down, and I'm like looking around. First of all, okay, I got my ball. I got my ball. All right, got to put the ball over here. Can't be losing that. All right, put the ball over here. All right, I got my scorecard. All right, wrote this. And so like I'm going through all this stuff in my head, and I'm like, all right, I got to get everybody's signatures on the scorecard to make it legit. So I'm getting Garrett, Steven, Bubby, Brad. I'm getting everybody's signatures. No, 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 no. And so I'm like, once I get everything settled, I'm like, all right, what do I do now? It's like, what? That's it. Made a hole one. Everybody goes back to their lives. I'm like, what do I do? And so like I'm trying to calm my nerves, and I was like freaking out in my room, yelling and screaming, and then we had a great dinner to celebrate. I got to tell the whole staff the next day, and the next day was weird because we had to go film another video. And I mean, I played okay, but I didn't play great. So I just created history, and I played like poop the next day. Like, frick, dang it. Uh, so that's also like a crazy thing because in reality, you're like, all right, you made the greatest shot of your life. Go take a break. You're done. But then in reality, it's like I got to film another video, you know. So it's kind of tough to digest it when it happens right away because I don't really get to have fun with it. But then you wait a week and a half, 2 weeks. The hardest thing is waiting because I can't post about it. I can't even give a teaser. And obviously, we had that teaser. We dropped like a little trailer thing or whatever, which is really cool. And that's getting me like super hyped. But then I still got to wait another 3 days. It's like the hardest thing ever to do is wait because I just want to share it with everybody. And then we finally get to post it, and then then I finally get to like sit with it a little bit. And I gotta honestly try and stay off my phone as much as I can, but I can't because everyone's posting it and reposting it, and I gotta tell everybody thank you and all that kind of stuff. So um, it's an insane, crazy experience. And I think what a lot of people don't get is the chance to celebrate it with their best buds. Like all my best friends are right there. Um, that's another crazy experience that, I can go out and make a hole in one by myself, but it ain't fun, especially if it's not on film. Who cares? Hey guys, I made a hole in one. Like Garrett will always call us and text and be like, hey guys, I just chipped in from 60 yards for Eagle. Okay. Were you filming? No, just playing for fun. Dang, that sucks. Like, and Garrett's like, dang it, why couldn't I be filming a video right now? What am I doing? So like we'll get in those situations, but that's the greatest thing about all three of mine. They're all on film and they're all with my best buds. That's crazy to me. I can't ask for anything better than that.
That's awesome, dude. That's crazy stories. Definitely going to be fun ones to tell the grandkids one day. So, and the fact that you can like not only tell them but show them is a very cool, unique situation. But listen, man, I really appreciate you coming on. You've been on here for a while, so I don't want to keep you much longer on this Friday night. But I'd love to open the floor just a little bit to what you guys have coming 2024, either you personally or the grouping Good Good, and kind of anything you want to tease or talk about before we head out.
Ooh, what can I tease without the boss getting mad? Hmm, I don't really know. uh, Obviously, the live stream that's like the biggest as of now because that's going to be early. That's early in the year, so like that's going to be like our biggest thing that we got planned right now. Um, we've got some fun content coming with a very awesome pro that a lot of people know. So I won't say his name, but that's going to be a really, really fun week. Um, the live stream, I think we're going to try and plan a couple of fun trips to some more exotic locations. And yeah, I mean, Good Good's it's just been insane. And I think the live stream is just what everybody's thinking about right now. I can't really think of anything else other than making sure the live stream goes great and that we're on our best behavior and people are, doing what they're supposed to, and we can have the equipment actually work. Like I'm worried about the equipment just giving out, and it's like, frick, got all these people here and equipment doesn't work. Like that's gonna suck. That's gonna suck more than anything. So like I'm focused on that, making sure that's all good and that we got the right stuff. For me personally, I'm trying to do a New Year's resolution where I can try to post for 2024, post like I don't know, at least 60 videos. Like just trying like 60 to 70 videos or something, like get a good baseline, and try and hold myself accountable, try and post like at least once a week. So 4 videos a month, like just trying to get that. Maybe designate a specific day. Maybe some of you guys can comment on this video and give me like some specific days you want me to post or something, and I'll try and do that 1 to 2 times a week, maybe. So just trying to hold myself accountable there. Um, yeah, but I think that's about all I can give you.
No, I love it, man. There's a lot, and I totally get it. The levity of what's going on February 7th is huge. So I'm glad that that's what your head's wrapped around, because it's definitely it's a big moment, and I'm very excited for it. So I'll see you there. I appreciate you coming on the channel, brother. It's been really fun to connect with you. This is definitely this was a cool interview for sure. You definitely opened up quite a bit, and I appreciate that, and I think that people are going to as well. So all the best to you, man. Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Of course, thank you, Nate. I really appreciate you. You're doing some phenomenal stuff out there. So keep grinding. All you fans watching, like and subscribe, man. This guy's got it. It's always fun to watch some stuff that I don't even know about pops up. I'm like, I should probably take a peek at this because I don't know what this is. So it's pretty awesome what you're doing, and I appreciate you reaching out and getting me on the channel, man.
Cool. Thanks, brother.